to Let's Talk Tum. My name is Alexis Murphy. I am your host, and I'm here today. I have a guest on today, but first we're going to get started with, before I go into the introduction and everything, I just want to say that as people that's been following my story, my brother died of HIV and AIDS, and so I've been doing a lot of blogging and videos and stuff in his memory to reach out to people to live a longer life. And this month will actually, the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, will make 2 years that he's passed. And actually today, 2 years ago, would have been we had his funeral 2 years ago this month. So I'm back, and I'm going to go ahead and get into the program. Okay, I'm going to do a little intro. I'm going to give you a little information about AIDS. I'm going to read it off this paper. And it's called A Brief History on AIDS. AIDS, better known as human efficiently AIDS, better known as human efficiently virus infection and acquired immune deficiency syndrome. HIV is transmitted primarily via unprotected sexual intercourse, including anal and oral sex, contaminated blood transfusions, hypodermic needles, and from mother to child during pregnancy, delivering, or breastfeeding. Some body fluids, such as saliva and tears, do not transmit HIV. There is no cure or vaccine. However, treatment can slow the cause of disease and may lead to a near normal life expectancy. Since its discovery, AIDS has caused an estimated 36 million deaths worldwide as of 2012. And in 2014, it resulted in about 1.2 million deaths, and about 36.9 million people are living with HIV. Wow, that is a lot of people. This is why I do this, because I want people to be aware. I want people to be alert. I want people to get tested, and I want people to talk about it, because this is serious, and we must not take it lightly. So today, I'm going to be interviewing Miss Connie Rose. She lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. I met her on Facebook through Positively D. I was scrolling down my page, and I seen her. She was doing video blogging, and she was actually taking her medication on the video. She's HIV positive, and she's very open to talking about it. So I seen her on Facebook, and I was like, wow, I would like to meet her. And so we got hooked up, and she is on here with Skype. Miss Connie, say hi to everyone. No problem. This is Miss Connie, and I'm going to be interviewing her through Skype, and I'm going to ask her some questions, and she says she's willing to talk about anything. So this interview is very special to me. So we're going to go ahead and get into it with Miss Connie Rose. Miss Connie, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us what you do, and you're advocating for HIV. Give us a little bit introduction about you.
Well, my name's Connie Rose Shares. I've been positive 20 years today. Well, diagnosed 20 years ago today, and at first probably 15 years. Basically living.
We having a little technical problem.
Sorry.
It was the computer was a little slow, but you can keep talking.
And so then when I moved to Las Vegas, I started advocating because I found out how important it was and how many other people were actually suffering in silence. It was, for me, it wasn't so hard. I didn't deal with a lot of discrimination, stigma, because I kept my circle, fairly small. I only disclosed to people I had to only my, close family and friends knew about it um, before moving. It was, I raised my daughter, being positive. She's negative. She was, thankfully born negative. She's another reason why I advocate for testing. Before you have sex with anyone, there's multiple reasons why testing is so important. And it's not just for your own health, it's for those in direct contact with you. It's so important for them and their safety also. So I launched my website, livingpause.com.
Mm-hmm.
Give people who are living with one of the 4 incurable H's, excuse me, a place to come and tell their stories of successful living, to give other people who are newly diagnosed a place to come and find and give information about, there are so many different issues that people living with HIV have.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody has issues, of course, and each age deals with their own set of problems. But what I found is the more people I meet, the more stories like your brother's that I hear, and then just talking with people in other countries who don't have access to health care. Yeah. It just made me feel like I have all of this opportunity here, and I was squandering it. I was just taking it for granted. Mm-hmm. It's so important for me now to be able to get this message out to remind people about there's help for every problem that you're having. If you're having issues taking your meds, there's someone that we know who can help you with that. Exactly. If you're having issues with appearance, if you're having issues with side effects, if you're having issues finding a doctor, finding services, there's someone in our community, in our network, who can help you, and that's why I started my website.
Wow. Awesome.
That's a little bit of kind of sums up everything, I guess.
Okay. Awesome, Miss Connie. Miss Connie, I want to go back to before you were, when you contracted it. Can you share with us how did you become HIV positive, and when you first found out about it, how was your reaction? What did you go through? And just share with us how you became HIV positive.
I didn't ask my husband. I got married at 19 to the father of my daughter, and I didn't ask him for an HIV test. So we were together a few years, and I didn't fit into the criteria, the risky lifestyle. So I was infected because I didn't ask for an HIV test. I married someone who was positive, and I didn't know. So first, of course, there's denial. I didn't even actually go for an HIV test for a long time, just because I didn't fit the checklist. Mm-hmm. So I was like, fine, but you're not. So you go through a whole spectrum of emotions.
Yeah.
Probably all of them you didn't know existed. I was mostly just scared to death because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about the medications, the clinical trials. I really didn't. Everything in the beginning was a question answered. And I was literally just trying things because I didn't know what would work or what to do. I didn't have support groups to go to. In my community, I didn't have anything available to me near me. Probably it was a couple hours away, and the nearest city was one ASO. So, thinking back, I haven't actually thought back 20 years ago today. I basically I passed. I just blacked out when you told me. You just get through each moment. Um,
Well, let me ask you this: was it?
the moment with the internet networking, people will never have to experience what I was in, or anyone who was diagnosed before 15 ago. Hopefully, trying to do is make sure that never happens to anyone again.
Exactly. Let me ask you this, Miss Connie: was it during the marriage, or he had already had it before y'all got married, and he didn't tell you? How was that? Or did he go out and cheat on you, or was he already HIV positive when y'all got married and he just didn't tell you?
I never got an honest answer about that. All I know is a few years after we were at
Okay.
his mother's house, and his mother received a letter from him. He was in prison,
Mhm.
and he was positive. So I had assumed I was. So at first I wrote about it, but then I found out that Indiana, like the other state in 1996, wasn't even offering HIV tests to the high risk. Well, like I said, white heterosexual female, I had only had two sexual partners. I was nowhere near the category or of ask her if she wants an HIV test.
Mhm.
So he did cheat multiple times, whether he had it or not before. I'll never know the answer to that. And he died a year ago, October. So and forgive. And I'm not blaming him.
Mhm.
That's why I hate HIV testing or HIV testing. Before you have done an HIV test and he was
It's the computer.
and and uh, that for my own sexual health and well-being, just like everyone else.
Mhm.
If he knew, could have disclosed to me and given me that option, just like I do now to other people, and as does most everyone with HIV. It's just something we do. You can check the new app co-developed by Josh Robbins. It's called Disclosure Plus. Um, all sorts of new things coming out all the time to help people prove that they've disclosed and to protect themselves in that situation.
Wow. Yeah. I would just like to add, I don't have HIV, but I really sympathize with it because of my brother. And you were saying that when you found out, you just went through a lot of emotions, and just hearing, I never forget the day that my brother told me he had HIV. And he, he was, you could tell that he was in denial with it, because the first thing he said was, well, Alexis, I have HIV, but I'm healed and I'm not going to take his medicine. And he just dropped that bombshell on me, and just out of the love that I have for him, I was shocked. Because I had heard about HIV, and how they advertise it, it's a death sentence, it's so much stigma on it. And so I can just imagine what you went through when you found out that you was HIV positive. I mean, it plays not just a physical thing, but it's a mental thing on your mind state. Share about, did you go in denial when you first found out? Did you isolate yourself? What happened?
I don't want to say it was really denial so much as um, well, no, okay, yeah, denial as an unacceptance of, um, I actually went to work the night I found is how much I went into denial. I'm fine. I'll just,
Wow.
I was a single mom, with an 18-month-old baby, so, there wasn't a lot I could do. You just, it was either just keep moving forward or just roll over then and give up. And that's not an option. So you just, there was never any why me. I've never lived my life with the why me. And I remember one of my sisters telling me from the very beginning, bad things happen to good people every single day. And at least with HIV, it was not, regardless, even then, part of me knew that it was not a death sentence because, they were explaining it, even though they gave me, even then, in 1996, I was given a pamphlet on the back that gave me a lifeline of 12 years.
Wow.
Basically, I never worried about me. I was so sad because here I had this brand new baby. I was terrified I wasn't going to get to see her grow. I mean, I literally waited life to be a mom. And I'm telling me at 12 years, a little girl who's only a year old.
Wow.
That's what I had a problem with. Never had a problem with any of it. It was all about the fact that I was so mad that this child that I've been blessed with grow up into a woman. I was never going to get to see her who when I was pregnant. That's what hit. So that's what this has always been about for me is making it one more year to get to see her grow up. Otherwise, if I would not have had my daughter, I really don't think I probably would have stuck around. And I'm just being honest. And I was in a small community where stigma and discrimination were, it was really bad. So, I don't think I would have stopped.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, also, before my brother moved to Florida, he used to stay here in Alabama. And when you said something about the small town, it's so many big things that is going on in small towns, but nobody's addressing it, and so it's like a hush hush thing. And it's sad. It's really sad that we have these problems, especially in a small community, and no one's willing to address it because they're afraid and everything. Now, we're going to talk about the stigma. No, first we're going to talk about the side effects that it had. Did you, when you found out that you had it, what were some of the side effects that you had, like once you got on medication and that you started out with? Because I've heard people could go blind. Literally, when I saw my brother in the hospital, he was skin and bones. He could not see. He was just, it was awful. So, share with us some of the side effects of living with HIV.
Well, years ago when I did the clinical trials for the AZT and Vidax and DDI, the AZT was unregulated that I was on a clinical trial for, so that it destroyed the lining of my stomach. So I have issues now. I took some Tylenol yesterday, got so sick because I had a headache. I've been sick this week, and take medication just to make the headache go away. That won't make me sick, because it just affects me so differently now. So the side effects in the beginning were not actually that, okay, well, 20 years looking back into it. In that moment, I was living in it. It was horrible. In the beginning, the nausea, the vomiting, the diarrhea, it was almost unbearable. But that was, like I said, those were clinical trials. Once I got on my regular meds, I didn't have a lot of side effects. And then until the carbon monoxide poisoning, I never actually had a compromised immune system. So I was very lucky, kind of like the people, you know, who are diagnosed today and are able to get on meds, and they just stay healthy. You know, that's the most wonderful thing happening today. But for those of us, you know, 20 years or more, like some of my friends, 25 years, 30 years, the long term of medication on your body, people need to remember, whenever you said earlier, it's not a death sentence, life sentence, and by that you're going to have to take those meds every single day. That's how people deal with adherence issues, because it becomes a battle of will between you and the. That's where the mental thing becomes an issue, because so many Maria and I mean, so many are just blatantly honest about the fact that we hate those pills. We just taking them. We get so angry.
Yes.
We get so that you're faced with those pills every single day, and it becomes sometimes easier, whenever you take it down and out of the way. But the side effects for me have been harder now that I'm living with advanced HIV, which is not AIDS. I don't have AIDS, but whenever you've been living with a chronic illness for so long, as we age and get weaker, the virus, you have to realize, is as it ages, it's getting even stronger and smarter. So, living with advanced HIV, I'm dealing with issues now that I've never dealt with. That's the hardest thing for me currently.
Also, we're going to talk about the stigma. I'm going to share my little story. And when I first started doing this, started doing Let's Talk Tom, I was in school, and I started telling it to some of my friends, and I started, telling people at school that, hey, I'm doing this video, check out my story. And I actually had 2 teachers to tell me, you don't need to do this. You could not get hired. You won't get hired on the job. You don't need to talk about this. And when people will walk up to me, when people would ask me, well, how did your brother die? And I just would say he died of AIDS. And you would just be amazed at the facial expressions on people's faces. And I was like, wow. And for a moment, when I had started doing this and I started talking about it, people were treating me like I had HIV. And I'm not HIV positive, but I was affected because of my brother. And then that made me really realize that the stigma is crazy. It's a shame on how people are treated. And on my introduction video when I first started, I feel like HIV is no different from cancer. I used to have epilepsy, and I had to take pills 3 times a day, and that's a sickness. And all sicknesses, to me, in my eyesight, they seek to destroy your health. But I'm like, why is it that HIV is just, people are just treated so awful, and it's sad.
The few times that I lost a friend because I disclosed to some people in her community, and for one of her members was asking me out continuously, and I told him no, but he wouldn't stop asking me out, so I just disclosed my status to him, let him know that this is why chase.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we say no because there's real reason. And whenever she found out, that was her biggest fear, was that they were going to think she had me too. I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at her. Yes, it hurt my feelings because people had just, that, of course, it hurts your feelings, but no, I'm not mad at her because the stigma, you're living proof that the stigma is real. I mean, just because you're doing a show about your brother, people think you have HIV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That.
And it's really sad. I mean, even after he died, I went down to Alabama AIDS South here in Mobile, and it is so unorganized. I mean, people are not taking it seriously. I went down as a volunteer and I asked. They say they provide shelter and things for patients. I said, well, what about counseling? That's the main thing that they need besides their medication. They need to talk about it. They need to feel, anybody that's infected with HIV need to feel like they can express themselves, because you got so many emotions. So, share a little bit more. Have you been stigmatized? Share your story of, when you decided to come out to say, "Hey, I have HIV." How did people treat you? Was you like an outcast in your family? How share some more with us about the stigma.
And my friends were supportive in the very beginning, and I still have many family members and my mom and dad, cousins and some friends who are still very supportive. But people are just mean. They don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
I worked in a few factories and people would literally just refuse to work on the same machines with me.
Wow.
Because I'm afraid of bathrooms, of course. Just having to hear all of it. Everything you've ever heard has been done. People have walked up and said things directly to me while I've been at work. Men that I've dated have, because when you disclose to someone when you date them, they of course then have it directly from the horse's mouth, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they're rumors, they're spreading facts. That's the worst thing, is when it's your friends and people you've trusted with such private information, people you don't have to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And when they take that information and use it in a way to try to hurt you, that's what destroys someone's mentality.
Yes.
That's what breaks their spirit.
Yes.
Is that break of trust.
Yes.
I can handle gossip. I can handle just people poking fun, but it's whenever someone trusts you with that information and they don't have to, and then it's used in a way to hurt you. When my family members, would post on their Facebook, just before I became an advocate, it was considered, humorous to do that to me.
Wow.
Once I started talking about it on my own Facebook, then it wasn't so funny anymore, of course. When I actually had support from other HIV people, it's really hard to make fun of someone when they go from having 80 close family members on their Facebook to over 500, and the majority of them are HIV positive. It's kind of hard to make fun of me.
Yes.
Or at least in public, it's hard to make fun of me anymore. So I think that's another reason why I started advocating is not so much because they were making fun of me, but it's because I knew there were people who, like I said before in the beginning, I only did not commit suicide because I had a daughter to keep me around here. I didn't want to be here. I barely still want to be here. But there are other people who are, like kids who are being born with this, and they don't deserve that.
Exactly. Well, Miss Connie, I just want to encourage you. Fight to stay here. I know it's hard because I can sympathize with it because just seeing my brother when he was in the hospital and he couldn't talk, and I just encourage you, just hold on. It's hard. It's really hard, but you have to fight. You have to fight.
Right. And we're all worthy, and we're all so important. And it's just so important to me to get the message out there to people who don't have someone, that cares about them, or someone to give them a reason to want to be here.
Yes.
I want for them to let them know that I want them here. I need them here because now that my daughter's grown, I'm not saying I don't have anyone, I do, but I try to get the message to them that I need them.
Yes.
Them.
Yes.
So that's why I do this now, is because no one did it for me, and it's just so important for me to do it for everyone else.
Yes. And always keep this in mind that every day you get to live, you are here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And I know that it can get very discouraging because I'm just, as I'm talking to you, I'm getting a little emotional myself because it's okay. I remember in 2008, my brother was almost dead and he couldn't talk. He had to write on the paper that he loved us, and he dealt with this alone, and he didn't have to, and he was such a great person, and he knew the stigma, and I guess that's why he kept to himself. Some stuff I will never know, but I encourage anyone. It takes courage to do this.
Yeah.
It takes courage to come out and tell people that I'm living with HIV. It took courage for me to even associate myself with AIDS and HIV because people are so rude, and you don't know what a person go through every day. So I feel like you should treat people the way you want to be treated. I look at it like this. I consider myself blessed because I haven't been perfect. Before I could have been one that had it. I made some mistakes in my life and I didn't. Every guy that I slept with, I didn't ask them, "Hey, are you HIV positive?" I would. In that moment, you're not thinking about that. And so, now that I have friends living with HIV, I look at it like this. It could have been me. That I try to put myself in your shoes because it could have been me. I could have been. After my brother died, I started researching Mobile, and here in Mobile, Alabama, HIV and AIDS is sky high. It is. We are the third place in Alabama where HIV and AIDS is very high, and this year, Alabama AIDS South don't have no fundings. The city of Mobile took the fundings from Alabama South. So I just really try to sympathize with people living with this disease because it could easily be somebody else. So
and there's some people that don't realize how easy it is to still be infected through a blood transfusion. And I know they say all blood is tested, but I wrote an article about someone who, within the last 10 years, who was infected by blood transfusion. Actually, I have two people, but only one of them that I've written a blog about. One of them was just infected, I believe it was 2009, during a surgical procedure. So, these things are still happening. Have to be, and there are still babies being born. there who are just not being tested, and while I I do know that there are federal regulations that say all blood is being tested. Part of me fears that only the blood is being tested whenever people mark all of the high risk boxes.
Yep.
And I only say that because I was told it wouldn't happen to me because you're not in a high risk situation. I understand that was 20 years ago, but I'm still hearing the same things being preached in health classes, and I'm still hearing the same lies be told that were told years ago. So you have to ask yourself, if all of these regulations are being followed, and many of them in other places are being followed, you still hear of, just recently, and I had it written down, I lost it, but the nurse who was reusing needles,
Wow.
when exposed 42 of her coworkers. That's happening.
Yep.
That happens. You are still at risk. Even if you are a 68, 70, 80-year-old grandma and grandpa who only goes to the hospital for blood work. I hope to God using needles because you infection. No matter how young, no matter how old, that's vulnerable at one time or another. That's fact. So you need to respect yourself and protect yourself because no one is going to do it for you.
That's right. That's right. And even like going to the hospital, getting a shot, or like you were saying about the needles, you have to really know what's going on. Don't be afraid to ask questions when you go to the doctor. I do with my child. I do it all the time. Hey, what is this? What shot is it? I want to know what's going on because you just never know. You just never know. You can't just these days. You can't just assume that they're a doctor. They know what they're doing. Ask questions. What needle you injecting in me? How long you been a nurse? Do you got anything on your record? Are you a good? Your life depends on it.
Nurse wears her gloves whenever she takes your blood
Mhm.
because that's an open wound, and I understand they're nurses, and I'm not talking down about them because my life has been saved multiple times by nurses,
Mhm.
especially when I go to have my blood drawn. Even when they see what it's being drawn for, sometimes they don't like to put their gloves on because it's hard to find, not with me because I have crazy good veins, thank goodness, but they don't like to. Well, when you've been stuck, for 20 years over and over, your veins get hard and will rupture sometimes now. Just when they go to stick the needle in, even though I have great veins, it's where they've been punctured so many times, it will rupture, and I'll have it will be blood everywhere. And one nurse, she wasn't going to put on her gloves, and I literally refused to let her touch me. And directly after that, she stuck the needle in, and the blood went everywhere, all over her gloves, all over her hands. And it was winter time, so her hands were cracked. And she just burst into tears and had to have somebody else come finish the job because of the risk, like I had just saved her from.
Wow.
So it's I understand that as a nurse or as a phlebotomist, you guys do your job every day, and who am I to judge you or tell you how to do your job? But just because you do your job, I'm a different individual.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is different people,
Mm-hmm.
and my body is not going to react the same as somebody else's. So when somebody tells you please wear your gloves, then it's not just for your protection. Sometimes it's for mine too.
Exactly. Exactly. So you just have to be very, very careful. Another thing I want to ask you is when like I was saying earlier, I tried to volunteer with Alabama AIDS South, and it just didn't work out. Do you think that these AIDS uh, foundations, do you think they really take their jobs seriously? Have you seen places where you been, where they really take their job seriously, or do you think it's just a joke? Do you see stigma in a company that you go to and volunteer? Tell me about your experience with volunteering with HIV and AIDS workers.
Well, actually, I've been trying to volunteer since I came to Las Vegas with AFAN, and I did have a team that walked for them, and let's see, and they used me for the AIDS Walk channel segment. But as for like volunteering day to day there, they would never get back with me. And so I've not had a very volunteer experience or experience. Right now, I'm writing a blog for Jim Blakey, founder of Action Red. It's an ASO, AIDS service organization here in Las Vegas, and he's been very, very on top of getting back with me and information about how to volunteer, how to work with his organization. So I think it honestly depends on the organization and on who's running about how well they will work with you.
Well, it like you said, it depends, because my experience here in the South in Mobile, it was not good. I tried to speak twice. I was not taken seriously. I wasn't just doing this for a hobby. This is a very serious thing to me. I lost I lost my brother to this, and it just depends on where you are. For my experience, it was not good, because it's like nobody take it seriously, but slowly and surely people are dying from it because nobody ain't talking about it. And so so now I'm just doing my own thing, because my time is my time is valuable, and I'm not just doing this just to be on camera. Oh, hey, just for a show. This is serious. This is really, really serious. And I think some places don't take their job seriously. They don't, they're just there to get a paycheck. Some's just there for money, and really don't treat people that's living with HIV fairly. And they don't take it seriously until it hits your home. Now, when it hits your, that person's situation, that's when, okay, I'm going to take it seriously.
Right. That's another reason why I opened my own website. Yeah, I mean, I'm not just on there just so I can. I put out money. I mean, I bought a website and host and made it into a blogging site to host for other people. Mm-hmm. That's how serious it was because people were not. I couldn't generate any sort of interest. Like what you're saying, nobody was taking me serious. Mm-hmm. I was on other sites that were supposed to be for HIV, and it was so fake. It was. Mm-hmm. I mean, I found great information, but people who didn't actually want to discuss real life issues.
Exactly.
And, this, like I said, this is not a death sentence. This is a life sentence. Mm-hmm. This is every single day, and my day is important to me. Exactly. Your day is important to me. Exactly. We should not be just letting people die and thinking, well, it's okay, We'll fix that later. I don't want to fix that later. I want to fix it now.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of people don't realize that, like when I went down to Alabama AIDS South, and I told them, I said, you give people a roof over their head and you provide medication, but the main thing people need to do is talk. You need to talk about it, because mental illness kick in. You end up having illusions. When you hold so much stuff inside and won't talk about it because you're scared about what somebody think, that can cause schizophrenia, that can cause paranoia. I mean, it can cause a lot of things. So counseling is very, very important. Just using your voice, it is so important. Can you share with us, how do you, talk to people about it? Do people shun you, or tell us what that's like, just starting up a conversation with someone. Just, I remember one time on my job, I was talking with one of the other ladies. I was working in the hospital, and I just randomly said, oh, I just started talking. I said, my brother died of AIDS. I did it to see how she was gonna react, and it was no shame in it. But I seen the expression on her face. The conversation just shut down. So tell me about.
Like normal day to day.
Yes.
But like whenever in my town, like today I had on my Motivated for Mankind T-shirt,
Mhm.
and a couple, somebody would say something about, oh, you're motivated for mankind, the kid said today, and I said, yeah, I said, and I explained a little bit about what it was, and he was interested. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to check out that website." So, check out Bobby Blaylock, Motivated for Mankind.
Mhm.
You just, or one thing I like to do, especially living in a large city, is if somebody strikes up a conversation or a guy asks me out, I like to use that as an opportunity to educate. About letting them know that they just asked an HIV positive woman out, and that I've had the biggest reactions and the best reactions from the men that I'm able to literally just disclose to on the spot like that. It's affecting them profoundly whenever I do that. They say nobody ever does that.
Wow.
They are very appreciative. Um, some of them have taken my number. No, I haven't gotten any dates. So, but a few of them have friended me on Facebook later, just to because it affects people profoundly whenever you disclose something um, that openly. I usually no, I don't get a lot of time to talking about it. I don't get a lot of I don't generate a lot of interest. People are very afraid.
Mhm.
I get more messages on Facebook, or private messages than I do people just coming up and talking to me because they're afraid somebody's going to see them talking
Mhm.
and asking to a woman wearing an HIV shirt.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. I'm about to round it up a little bit. But what can we do? What can we do to make a difference? Because even though some people may not like it, some do, but people are listening. People are paying. They may not tell you they're paying attention, but some people are paying attention. So, what do you suggest that we keep doing to make a difference?
What's most important is making people feel safe, so that they can also come into the community and be open with their status also. Educating.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Uh, That's the only way to end this. I personally believe that if every single person would go get tested and know their status, and we could make it stop with us,
Mhm.
we could end every STD if people were just aware of their status.
Right.
I wrote a blog, I Know Who I Am, Do You Know Who You Are? Specifically for that reason, because being tested and knowing your age, knowing who you are, is the first step towards recovery and, ending all of it, ending stigma, ending disease, just ending all of it.
Yes.
But people have to stop being afraid. You have to stop being afraid of like that. It's living with it is much easier without the lying. Because like I say all the time, truth hurts, but your lies will kill.
Yes.
The lies will kill.
Yes, yes, yes. And also, I also think that it starts with parenting. It starts at home where you talk to your children, because a lot of, here in this area, a lot of young people are infected. And it starts with a parent sitting down talking to your 12, 13-year-old when they hit that stage of teenage. I'm going to do it with my son. I know my husband's going to do it. We're gonna, let our son know that this is out there. So another thing, like I'm saying, it starts at home. It starts with fathers being a part of their children's life, mothers being a part of their daughter's life. Teach their children about sex. When I was coming up, sex was like it was something you didn't talk about. It was we were curious about it, but we would not dare to mention sex to our parents because it was just a no-no. But now it's the time to talk about sex like they talk about videos. It's time to talk to your children.
With education.
Yes. It's time to repeat what you said again.
I said it starts at home with education.
Yes. Yes, it is so important because our youth is getting affected, and the parents. Well, we don't talk about that here. No, yes, we're going to talk about that here. It need to be talked about because it starts with our children. It starts with good parenting, and I just really feel like that's so important. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to end it. When I first seen you on Facebook, I looked at one of your videos, and you had your pills right in your hand. What inspired you to get on camera and show everyone that this is what I have to go through every day? These are my pills. What inspired you to do that?
Well, for me, it's because after I suffered carbon monoxide poisoning, and it affected, I had brain damage, is when I started having issues taking my meds, and when I would stop taking them, for whatever reason I was going through mentally, I would stop taking them, and I would become resistant. I became resistant to a tripla, which made me resistant to all the one-a-days, and then I became resistant to I forget which one, that made it to where I had to go on a rescue regimen. So, and then I started doing it again, not taking my meds. Whenever I went to California, I left an abusive relationship. So, one thing I did in the past that helped was keep a journal. Mm-hmm. But that didn't help this time because there was no. My daughter's 21. Like I said, I only took care of myself before because of her. So I'm dealing with finding a reason to force myself to take those pills because I want to matter to myself. So what I started doing is I thought I've developed quite an advocacy. I'm building quite a good thing with that. So if I'm going to be a good advocate, then I have to show people who are living with the same problem that I'm living with how we can overcome that. Right. And do that by literally showing the pills. These are the pills and I take them every single day, twice a day, 3 in the morning, 4 at night. So it's kind of to validate to myself that I've done it. And when you make yourself responsible to, like before I was responsible for my daughter, now I'm responsible for, if there's anyone who is doing this along with me that doesn't have the ability to be known to anyone else, but possibly they may have found me, then I do that on the chance that there's that person out there. So I do it for me, and I do it because the first couple times I was doing it, I didn't show my pills, but mine, that we talk privately, Zora, she said that it would possibly help me show the pills that I'm taking just to not validate to anyone else, but to educate too about the pill. Like, this is the pill I have to take. Like, the Persista is huge. So, well, you know, that's one of the issues we deal with is these are so, and they're chalky. So it's just one of the, oh, I'm sorry, it's another thing that we can do in support of one another to, you know, this is what we live, so that's why I do it.
Exactly, right. Well, before you go, tell us, tell our viewers where they can go to your website and your blog, and just give them a little more information about your website, and they can go on. Could you tell us about that before we end?
You can find my website at www.living.
Could you repeat that again?
If you're infected or affected by 4 curable H's, which would be HIV, HPV, human papillomavirus, HSV 1 and 2, which is herpes simplex virus, genital and oral, or HCV, which is hepatitis C. And the reason that hepatitis C is still included is because even though they have a cure for hepatitis C, not everybody it's not working for everybody. So, and I still need bloggers for many of the other H's. So anybody who is living with any one of these co-infections, anything you're dealing with, you know, come give your story. Help someone out. It's like you said, it's free registration. But please know it is open to the public. So register your real name and your username as a pseudo, as a fake name, please, just to protect yourself. That's the only security I don't offer is your profile information is public. Everything else, of course, is private. You know, I don't sell my information or anything like that, but it is open to the public. And then my blog, Living a Positive Life Without Stigma, is on WordPress, and you can find all that information on my Facebook at Connie Rose, or on my Twitter at CricketLV. And I think that's it. And there's a bunch of other helpful links also on my website for anybody who needs information or help for in almost anything that you need.
When you first started talking, the computer sort of broke up a little bit. So could you retell us tell us the website again, to your website, your link again, because the computer was breaking up.
Yeah, living.
Let me see his phone.
INGOS. And those links are all on my Facebook page as well.
Okay, he's on Facebook.
Okay, well, the computer broke up again, but I'll just say it. If you want more information about Miss Connie Rose, you can go on Facebook, type in Connie Rose. She lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will also put some things on Let's Talk Tum, and her blog is called www.livingpause.com. If you want, like she was saying, if you would like to be a blogger, if you like to share your story, go to her page and share your story. I checked it out also. It's amazing. And Miss Connie, I just want to encourage you. I want to tell you thank you for joining us, and thank you for doing this interview. This meant so much to me. This was great. I just want to tell you thank you, and continue to keep doing what you're doing.
Alexis, please don't stop. You're helping so many people. Your brother would be so proud. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
No, don't go off her yet. Tell her to stay on. We're gonna talk to her afterwards.
Just stay on for a little while. Me and my husband are gonna talk to you afterwards. So just stay put.
Okay. No, you tell your right back.
Before I end, I just want to read. I want to give some information about Mobile, Alabama. As I was preparing for this interview, I looked up some things that's happening here in Mobile. I feel like we need to be aware of what's going on in where we live. We need to know our statuses of who we sleeping with, messing around with, or whatever you're doing. You need to be educated so you can choose, the right decision. So I'm going to read this little information that I looked up on Mobile. And here it goes. Okay, here we go. So 42% of the clients of Alabama AIDS are women of childbearing age. It says another group are they're seeing in teens. According to a study by the Alabama Department of Public Health conducted in September 14, the fastest growing demographic in HIV cases are among African American men. Funding for Alabama AIDS are low here in the South. In 2014, $16,200 was received from the city of Mobile. In 2015, $9,800 was received. For 2016, AIDS funding was taken out of the budget. And that is so sad. So, I would encourage everyone, this is, go to your churches, talk about this with your friends, talk about this with our voice. We can make a difference. And so until next time, on our next interview, we will be talking about domestic violence. If everything goes planned, I will be interviewing India Andrews. We will talk about how domestic violence is affecting men and women. And so until next time, God bless you all. Next time, Let's Talk Tum continues. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.